So, how do you actually respond to stress? I mean, the real overwhelming, overstimulating burnout we all face. It's a serious question, right? Because every single day, we're basically bombarded by a modern world that demands our constant attention. And let's be honest, it leaves a lot of us feeling completely drained. But what if we could flip the script? What if you could transform that daily overwhelm into a state of pure emotional agility? Imagine training your brain to handle adversity, exactly like an Olympic athlete trains their body. Sounds pretty good, right?
Well, let's dive right into this explainer. Today, we're treating our time together as a highly actionable masterclass. We're going to build your personal instructional blueprint for mastering mental resilience. And honestly, the best part? We're not doing this through massive, exhausting life overhauls. No way. We're talking tiny, science-backed habits you can literally start using today. Think of this as our course syllabus. We'll be moving logically through 5 key modules: the mental resilience blueprint, mastering the 1% rule, daily emotional micro practices, rewiring your negative thoughts, and finally, your actionable implementation guide. All right, let's kick things off with Module 1, the mental resilience blueprint. So to lay down our foundation in this incredibly overstimulated world, we really have to wrap our heads around one core concept. Mental health isn't just about the absence of an illness. It's actually a state of functioning effectively. It is definitely not about being happy 24/7 or living a completely stress-free life. I mean, that's a total myth, and frankly, it just creates unrealistic pressure on all of us. Let's put this into perspective for a second. Your brain processes roughly 74 gigabytes of data every single day. That's the equivalent of reading 100,000 words. A few centuries ago, someone might have absorbed that much information over their entire lifetime. Your brain is juggling a massive cognitive load. So honestly, just functioning effectively, that's a huge achievement all on its own. Now, to manage that crazy cognitive load, we absolutely need resilience. And what is that, really? It's the ability to adapt in the face of challenges, respond flexibly to change, and critically return to balance after things get tough. It doesn't mean toughening up by stuffing your emotions down. Actually, scratch that. It's the exact opposite. It's about practicing self-regulation. And here's the absolute best news. Resilience, or grit, is a learnable skill. It takes consistent practice, kind of like building a muscle at the gym. It's not just some magical natural talent you're either born with or without. To understand why building that muscle is so crucial, we've got to look at the problem state. Enter Hans Selye's theory of the general adaptation syndrome. This outlines exactly how our biology reacts to stress. First up, the alarm phase. This is your classic fight or flight response. Cortisol and adrenaline instantly surge. Then we hit the resistance phase. This is where your body desperately tries to adapt to the ongoing stress, burning through massive amounts of energy just to stay on high alert. Finally, if the stress doesn't let up, we crash right into the exhaustion phase. Your physical energy, your immune reserves, they're entirely depleted, which leads straight to complete burnout. The big takeaway here? Chronic, unmanaged psychological stress pushes us steadily through these 3 phases until the tank is completely empty. Our entire goal today is to interrupt this vicious cycle before that exhaustion phase even has a chance to hit. Which brings us to Module 2, mastering the 1% rule. To avoid that exhaustion phase, we are going to lean on the absolute magic of marginal gains. Just take a look at the number 37. The math here is mind-blowing. If you improve a skill, or even just a tiny habit, by just 1% every single day, you'll be nearly 37 times better at it by the end of a single year. It's the mathematical power of compounding. Tiny, almost invisible daily actions snowball into genuinely transformative results over the long haul. Let's put these two approaches head-to-head. We tend to put this immense, crushing pressure on ourselves to achieve massive, overnight success. It's intimidating, it's exhausting, and honestly, when we inevitably stumble, we usually just throw in the towel. Daily microhabits totally eliminate that pressure. They're almost laughably simple. We're talking about reading just one single page of a book, or maybe exercising for 5 minutes. Because the stakes are so low, you can bounce back from a bad day so much faster. It's the exact same strategy James Dyson used when he created over 5,000 prototypes for his vacuum cleaner. Every single iteration was just a tiny, manageable 1% tweak. So, I want you to pause for a quick moment of self-assessment. Look at your own life, right now, in this exact moment. Where can you make a 1% improvement today? I mean it. Could you save exactly $1? Could you put your phone in another room 5 minutes earlier tonight? Don't worry about the final destination right now. Just focus on establishing that tiny everyday behavior. Moving right along to Module 3, Daily Emotional Micro Practices.
All right, let's take all this theory and turn it into real, actionable tasks you can easily slide into your busy schedule. Listen, the first 15 minutes after you wake up, they basically dictate the emotional tone for your whole day. We like to call this the morning architecture of resilience. Check this out. When you wake up, before you even think about touching your phone, do a 60-second emotional temperature check. Just notice how you're feeling without judging it. Next, add 3 minutes of mindful breathing. The 4-2-6 method is a real game changer here. Inhale for 4, hold for 2, exhale for 6. This literally hacks your nervous system, activating the parasympathetic side and lowering your baseline cortisol. Finally, take just 1 minute to visualize a challenging situation you might face today and picture yourself handling it calmly. That's less than 5 minutes total, and you've radically shifted your brain out of panic mode and straight into resilience. Now, by the time midday rolls around, let's face it, the stress has usually snuck right back in. So, here's your second application task, the 3-minute midday reset. Step 1, physically step away from your desk and spend 1 minute just scanning your body to see where you're holding tension. Are your shoulders up by your ears? Notice it. Step 2, take the next minute to consciously release that tension with every single exhale. Just let it go. Step 3, use the last minute to set a really clear intention for how you want to feel for the rest of your afternoon. By actually getting up and stepping away to do this, you are actively throwing a wrench into that accumulating stress cycle before it can drag you down into the exhaustion phase.
Okay, let's get into Module 4, rewiring your negative thoughts.
We've got your routine optimized, but now we really have to tackle the internal stuff. Those cognitive distortions that love to sabotage our consistency. See, there's this continuous feedback loop happening inside your head. Every single negative thought you have triggers a very specific emotional reaction, and that emotion drives a behavior. If you think, I'm totally going to fail at this, your brain registers that as a literal threat. Your nervous system flares up with anxiety, and your behavior? You'll probably procrastinate or just quit entirely. It's a brutal cycle that heavily reinforces our limiting beliefs. To smash that cycle of self-sabotage, especially when you fall into that trap of all or nothing thinking, you need a solid intervention. Enter the self-reflection checklist. You can use this to literally rewire your brain's neural pathways. When a negative thought pops up, don't just blindly accept it as the truth. Stop and ask yourself, is there actual hard evidence contradicting this? Could there be a more realistic explanation? And honestly, my favorite one, what would I say to a friend who is thinking this way? By forcing your brain to answer these objective questions, you're effectively stripping that negative thought of the power it holds over your actions.
And finally, Module 5, your actionable implementation guide. To wrap up our masterclass today, we've got to build the practical systems that ensure you actually stick to these new behaviors, because execution is everything. Here is your strategy guide and scoring rubric. First up, habit stacking. Just anchor your new 1% habit to something you already do on autopilot, like doing 2 minutes of breathing right after you brush your teeth. Next, reduce friction. If your goal is to stretch more, leave your yoga mat out in plain sight so you don't have to go digging for it in the closet. Finally, pre-commit. Always have a backup plan. Tell yourself, if I'm too exhausted for a full workout, I will stretch for 5 minutes instead of doing absolutely nothing. And please notice the secret sauce here, the dopamine reward. Acknowledging your small wins, physically checking off a habit tracker, or even just giving yourself a quick mental high five, it creates a real dopamine spike. And that little hit of neurochemical reward is exactly what transforms a conscious, difficult effort into an effortless, automatic habit.
As you start putting these strategies into play, I want you to anchor yourself to this one core principle. Change takes time. Consistency is far more important than achieving immediate perfection. The absolute biggest pitfall in self-improvement is expecting instant results and then just giving up when they don't magically happen overnight. You have to trust the process of compounding growth. Doing a tiny 2-minute practice every single day is infinitely more valuable than forcing a massive 30-minute session that you only manage to do once a month.
So, here's your final piece of homework from our explainer today. I'm challenging you to step into the ring and actually take action. What is the very first 1% micro habit you're going to start today? Pick it right now. Because look, if you don't take deliberate control of your brain's adaptation cycle today, the modern world is going to gladly exhaust it for you. Make your new habit so laughably small that it's literally impossible to fail. Get out there and start building your mental toughness, one tiny, powerful micro practice at a time.